Hello everyone, welcome to a video where we're going to be building a good old airship with torpedoes, missiles, cannons, and a EMP particle cannon. Or maybe a AP EMP cram cannon. That's really hard to say actually, at least for me. So yeah, I just kind of described the armaments, but to go over them, actually I won't go over them yet, we'll just see what happens. But this thing's just gonna be good all-rounder. Airship probably around 600,000, but can't be sure until I actually build it, of course. Basically, it's just gonna be an airship with a decent amount of deck, a decent amount of defenses, and just be a solid overall craft. It's gonna be basically an aerial equivalent of a battleship, and I cannot say complicated words that aren't that complicated. I really have no idea how I want to build this thing other than I want it to look kind of like a Metric Guard in a Venator Star Destroyer, or just a regular Star Destroyer combined. Yeah, but this will be heavily inspired by the Metric Guard. It's one of my favorite designs, but yeah, so without further ado, I'm just gonna get started. Once I have a general whole, I'll see you guys in a bit. I mean, once I have a general whole outline and whatnot, I'll probably come back with it. And of course, the regular amount of prisoners that will be safely kept, that will be safe inside, or I mean outside of our glorious airship. So I'm gonna get started and I'll come back with an update. So it's been a little bit while later. What was that? Yep. Forgetting how this, that wasn't even forgetting how to speak, it just came out of my mouth. But I've done a little bit of the aesthetic style. I'm actually quite pleased to say I'm really happy with it. It's really weird, and it's actually a little bit different from the Metric Guard. Still looks kind of similar in some ways, but yeah, it's really actually growing on me. I quite like it. However, I don't really want to replicate it on the bottom because that would make it so much more complicated, but I probably have to because it just looks really interesting. I don't even know how to describe it. Just, yeah, it looks odd. I'm not too happy with the heavy armor to metal transition here. I wish there was ways I could make it a little bit smoother, I guess, but it's fine really. I decided though to go with the vertical lens. It's actually mainly aesthetic, because it's really difficult to get a good front section with the what is it called? Literally, yes, the long range lens. And the vertical one does have decent long range performance, only using 4, and if I'm right, I don't think it has any damage reduction. Yes, so it has no damage reduction or increase, right? Yeah, it has no damage modifier. And it only has 4% loss over long range compared to the 6% of the short range and the 2%. So it's basically a compromise with these two. However, I don't think what is it called? I keep forgetting everything. The field of fire is going to matter too much because at long range we should be able to hit anything. And the vertical, and we don't need horizontal field of fire really because we should be pointing at our opponent, hopefully. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how this turned out. The front is just pure heavy armor, which is going to be really durable, obviously. I still have a little bit to do making more room for the particle cannon, but yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit once I have more of this thing done. So it's been a little bit later, and well, I haven't exactly finished the whole, obviously. I've changed the color scheme, so it's basically a solid black color. Yeah, almost purely black, and that was pretty loud. The main reason is I feel like it fits our forces just a little bit better. And I think it just looks cool, which is the most important part. Really also brings out the details in the metal, as I have a voice crack. Yeah, overall I just really like it. It doesn't really affect the heavy armor much because it's already a black color, but yeah, just a quick little update. So it's been a moment, and I've just finished up the sides, and I quite like them. It reminds me of the Deadliest from Stargate. However, from this angle, it doesn't look that great. I think once you add the barrels, it'll be a lot better. But the back hasn't been finished, obviously. From a top-down angle, it actually doesn't look too bad. But yeah, I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing on the back, but to be honest, the sides were basically just built along the sides were just building along the way. Really, I didn't know what I was doing, but they look okay. Actually, I quite like them. I just need to add something to add to this side, because right now they're just completely barren. So I'll see you in a bit once we finish the back of the ship, and then we'll finally be done. We'll finally be done with the hull, that is. Okay, so I just finished up the back. I'm not too happy with it particularly, but for now we'll do, and I don't really want to complete it just in case we need to extend the ship, because right now it's only length 140. It does have a width of 35, but that's only for about probably 100 meters, maybe 80 meters. But yeah, we're basically done, except I still have to fill in the bottom of the craft. But once there, we'll start working on the cannons and AI and all of that good stuff. Just finished the turbines for energy generation, and I basically used up all the room in the back, so I need to find another way to propel the craft other than the couple of custom jet engines I'm going to put back here. It might be enough, it might not. However, it is going along pretty well. I'm just about to start working on the particle cannon, so once that's done, I'll be back with another update. This is the first weapons test of the particle cannon, just to see if it's good or not. I'm just going to spawn an anvil here. Did that hit? Yes, it did. And it didn't seem to do all that much damage. Let me just slowly move over here. Probably the lambs, because they can actually absorb a fair amount of damage, but in terms of actual damage output, that's really low, only 22,000. And we didn't take away much. I think I should overclock just a little bit. This is really the arm length I wanted to absolute mess in the particle cannon area, but I don't really want it to be that much larger. Let's try that again. This time doing 44k, which is far better, but did we actually take out anything important? Let's just let it. No. Oh, it did take out a fair amount. Okay, so we don't have quite enough energy generation as well. Something to note. Wow, nowhere near enough energy generation. That's horrible. Actually not too bad. I'm disappointed with the damage. Let's try impact. Gives us 500,000 damage. Yeah, the EMP, I've heard it's really good, but maybe it's only good with larger particle cannons. 171,000. Taking away about 2% of its health. And, yep. That's quite a bit of damage. Where'd that actually hit, though? Here. So far, I'm kind of sold on the impact version, but we'll try piercing last. Could go with the explosive shock, but I don't think it's as good as impact, and it does a sort of similar thing. And if I can see, I know probably not the best cinematic footage, but yeah. So I'm assuming the piercing shot should have gone through all the way. Did take out a couple of cram cannon nodes. Took out actually quite a bit of heavy armor. But once again, remember, I don't really want this to be the main weapon of the craft. It's really just meant to provide an additional source of firepower. I think that was a miss. Don't want to test this too much. I've already spent probably too much time recording this. So after this last weapons test, I will probably... Okay, I do think that went all the way through. Let's see if it hit anything important. So far, I'm kind of sold on impact. Yeah, piercing doesn't seem very good. I'll see you guys in a bit once I figure out which particle variation. So I've just tested it again, and I'm sold on impact. It's just EMP just didn't seem to do enough damage to the AI. I was really hoping it'd one-shot some things. It could probably only one-shot things under 100k. That's not surprising, because it's not a very powerful particle cannon. But impact was just impact. I still think impact is not the most efficient way. I'd say EMP is actually still probably might be better. Kind of depends on the craft. And piercing's probably more effective against larger enemies, especially considering the size of this particle cannon. But impact is just so fun. Just seeing a chunk of the enemy just disappear is why I just love impact particle cannons. They're one of my favorite weapons in the game, and despite the fact it isn't very powerful, it still does a considerable amount of damage every time it hits. Is it worth the cost? Probably not. Could it be spent better on maybe a Doom Cram, which is an AMP EMP and could probably just fry the AI? Probably, but it's just so much more fun just seeing a chunk of the enemy. However, I do need more energy generation. Actually, I might not, because while the particle cannon would drain all the firepower, even with the energy it takes, it's not too bad. However, I do need to figure out how much energy we can process a second. I'll be back once I have probably finished the event. So, this lovely airship here is in its final stages, and it looks kind of derpy. These thrusters just make it look derpy for some reason, and that glitch is really annoying. So yeah, I've finished the advanced cannons. I've nearly finished it, except for the armor. However, there's a bit of a problem when it comes to cost. This thing is already close to my planned budget. We still haven't even added the missiles that I wanted to. It's probably going to add an extra 80 to 100,000, which is going to make this 700,000. And in my opinion, all of my testing, it's just not worth that amount. It's good, but unless the armor is really good, it's just not worth the cost. It's 800,000, only has 400, well, it probably will get close to 800,000, only has 493 firepower, which is, for a craft of that cost, kind of low. It's not terrible, but kind of low. I'm also concerned about these guns exploding from the front, which is where this craft is going to be the strongest at, so I will need to add extra armor, but that's not too difficult. However, thankfully, we don't have to worry about these 3 sections. We don't have to worry about this little corner, which is probably going to be very hard to hit. But yeah, it does have a decent amount of firepower, and I'm just about to start working on the superstructure. Ignore some of these thrusters, they'll probably put elsewhere except a couple. And I think I still want to work on the back a little bit, because these thrusters are just making it look derpy for some reason. Probably because of the giant block I just have there. So yeah, it's nearly done. Just a couple finishing touches will be done. It's also only 23,000 volume. I think this is the most expensive vehicle per volume I've had, because I don't think I've ever managed to build something which is only 20,000 volume and so expensive. It's obviously probably going to go to, I'd say, rough estimate, probably like 27,000 once we have the volume, but yeah, for its cost, it has a low volume, and it does float, obviously. So I'll just see you guys in a bit once I have this superstructure. Actually, probably once I have finished it. Yep, so I've just added some tiny swarm torpedoes, as you can see there, as we destroy the bulwark. I've completed the advanced cannons. I can't remember if I told you that. It's like 11, and I really need to get some sleep. I've also added the missiles. They're just some explosive warheads, just for a little bit of extra damage, really. Am I paused? I literally don't know. I'm using literally a lot. I need more yaw, however, I hate to say it, but I did have to lengthen the ship. In my opinion, that really lowered the aesthetic value, and I wish it wasn't raining right now because it's kind of loud. Yeah, well, so I've added swarm torpedoes. I've had to extend it, which makes it worse, but that's a minor price to pay. What I'll probably do is I'll extend the superstructure because it just makes it look better. So yeah, that's probably what I do. Add some missiles, add the lamps, which looks really weird when you have it painted solid black. Yep, so just a quick update. I really need to go to sleep. I did not think it would take this long to record this. I'm not even done. I haven't done any of the armoring yet, except for a little bit. So yeah, I have done literally nothing. I was hoping to record some Stellars today. Haven't even started that. Since, well, this took way more time than expected. So I've just finished up the airship. I've changed a few things, namely the AI now sits at about 3,000 meters and only sits at 100 altitude. So this means it's going to be a little bit weak against other airships. So I might change that. We'll see as we go along. That's about one of the few things I've changed. I've made the shell sacrifice a bit of damage from her speed due to the distance, which is 3,000. The particle cannon is a bit weak, but that's not surprising considering the range we're sitting at. Yeah, it's overall just a nice craft. Its aesthetics are my favorite, and I really don't like the back, but I do think it does. I think the front and the sides look decent. However, in terms of functionality, I'm happy with it. Its guns can do lots of damage at long ranges, which is what they're intended to do. Even the particle cannon, despite the fact that it does have a 4% damage loss, can still do damage. The missiles are just missiles, and we have swarm torpedoes. It's nice. It's just a nice craft overall, but I do think it's gonna be a little bit boring, just like, well, not just like, but it's just seeing a bunch of shells fly at the enemy from long range isn't the most fun thing to watch, but in terms of practicality, yes. And it will have that happen. However, I will say, this thing's very expensive. Originally, I only intended this to be like 200,000. It's way above that. I mean, not 200,000, like 600,000, it's now 900,000. Also, no, that barrel's light. I couldn't figure it out. And why do the torpedoes still do this? I don't know. I've had a couple headaches over those torpedoes not working. Yeah, so it just sits at long range, basically peppers the enemy with shots. And has the occasional missile volley and particle cannon volley. I'm quite proud of it. It's not the most fun thing to watch, but I probably won't have it on its own, except maybe against the Onyx watch. But yeah, it's not the most entertaining craft to watch, but I do like it. It has the occasional particle cannon shot, missiles. There's still a little bit of tweaking I need to do, but other than that, it's finished. Lovely explosion there. Did not mean to zoom in all the way. Might as well disable the UI. Yeah, very long range craft, which is actually one of the very few things I've built. I haven't built many long range craft because I've just always been more of a close range type designer thing. I phrased that horribly. Yeah, but I like short range vehicles, and this is definitely not that. Yeah, the particle cannon missed. I might need to change the focus, but that would sacrifice lots of damage. And it's already not the strongest. Actually, it looks a little bit intimidating. Or menacing. At least to the enemy it would. It does seem like the yaw needs to be changed a little bit. I think it's a little bit too... yeah. Yeah, that's better. It's not doing that turning thing quite as much. Did that just make it worse? Sorry, I'm not really focusing on the bulwark. That's actually a really epic screenshot there. Yeah, I think that just made it worse. So I think we actually need to give more... Sorry, I'm just having to do some changes, and... oh, I didn't realize how zoomed in we were. Actually, that does seem to be pretty stable. I say that, then immediately rock side to side. Okay, yeah, definitely. Sorry for all these late changes. I'm just trying to get this thing edited. Can this thing please just be stable? That's not too bad, but I do think 3 was just a good spot. Yeah, once again, I'm sorry for the lack of footage here, but I'm just trying to do some last minute edits to it. So we'll do that rocking, but it shouldn't be too bad. A bit of a rant here at the end of the video. But I am quite tired, and ranting's what I do when I get tired. Yeah, at this point we've basically won. Sorry if you want to see the rest of the fight. Yeah. I'm happy with it, as I have a voice crack. It's way more expensive than I want it to be, and I could probably build a better ship for the same cost. The problem is, I think I underestimated the budget on this. I was really thinking that the weapons were going to be cheaper, and they ended up being very expensive. However, it does have its flaws. Namely, I feel like the weaponry is weak for its cost. Only 561 firepower for about 900,000 materials. That's not that good. I'm happy with its volume though. Only 32,000, which is really good for one of my designs in terms of cost per volume. It's pretty compact as well, which is a benefit, and that's not supposed to be happening. Yeah, it's a good ship, or decent. Yeah, it's not the best, but it will do. I will probably add more decorations eventually, but for now, I'm just glad this thing is done. I like it. It should be pretty powerful in the campaign, if not a little boring. So, hope you've enjoyed this video, and goodbye.